featured just because I create a decent amount of videos, especially in the car, but it takes me forever to upload, so it forces me just to get it, one and done, right? So I've had two conversations in the past 2 days where both owners wanted to scale their business, and in other videos I'm talking about this more in depth, right? But what both of them are doing at this point is they are both currently acting like a contractor. So they are the ones installing what they sell. Both of them are fence contractors, so they both install fences, right? But both of them want to scale their business. Well, when it comes to scaling your business, in my mind, when I hear scaling your business, and I guess I should really clarify this when I start talking, continue talking to people, is what's your definition of scaling your business, right? Because in my mind, scaling your business isn't going from like $500,000 a year to $600,000 a year. My mind is going from 500 to $1 million, or going from 1 to 2, or from 2 to 4, right? At least doubling your business, in my opinion. So if that's your definition of scaling the business, and the reason why most people want to scale their business is to make more money, obviously. And the reason for both of them, well, for the one person was so that way he could quit his day job, be able to afford his buddy, which is going to be a right-hand man, and then also to bring his wife on board to help with the office side of things, which is exactly pretty much what I did. Mine is bringing in someone I trusted for the dealing with the installation, stuff like that, which if I had that would have been a huge help. So he's definitely a step in front of me, and I honestly think he's smarter than me. So, or at least well put together. Now, so with that being said, my first thing I was telling him, like, look, you can't scale your business if you're still installing the fences. Like, it's just not going to work, right? So I told him, like, the first step is to find someone else to do that for you. Typically, if you want to hire an employee or train an employee to take over for you, you can do that, or hire a subcontractor, which most people don't want to do. And then for whatever reason, and I did the same thing, where you're like, oh, it's not going to work because of this, and it's not going to work because of that. But that stuff's just stuff that we make up in our head, right? It can definitely happen. Like the one guy said, like, thousands of people do it. I just haven't found the way, or I'm just working through some head trash, right? And that's what I was telling them, like, that's the first thing you need to do. But actually going in of a step back, because of a comment that one of them said was, if I hire someone else, like, I can't even afford, like, I'm not going to make any profit, right? So that's really step number one, is like, are you pricing like a contractor? Are you pricing as if you're only trying to make the profit off of the installation, right? And you can't do that, because if you're only making money on the installation, then how, when you hire someone to do the installation for you and you're paying them, you're not making any money, right? So I would give examples of, and this was to the second guy because this didn't come up on the first one, so I apologize for not creating this value for the first person. But our company deals with this day in and day out, all the time, where they, we give out a price for, say $12,000, and then other companies are pricing at 10 or even like 9,500, right? And the reason why they're pricing at 10,000 or 9,500, and they're probably making just as much as profit as I am, but the key thing is, because I scaled my business, that I no longer dig the holes. I no longer answer the phone calls. I no longer go out to the estimates, right? And if you want to scale your business, that means going from you to like a bunch of people. Well, you have to be able to afford those bunch of people. And like, you can try to afford, that's a brand new fence. I don't even know if people call us because I don't answer the phone call anymore, right? So what ends up happening is you could either do a shit ton of jobs. Like, if you currently do 100 jobs, now you're going to have to do 500 jobs or 300 jobs to be able to afford all those people, right? That's one way of thinking about it. Or you charge more. And I did this in another video, and I'll give quick examples, but if you do 100 jobs a year and you're making $2,000 gross profit on each of those jobs, then you're making $200,000 a year, right? Obviously you have other expenses, but just simplify as much as possible. 100 times 2,000, 200,000, right? So in order to get to $400,000 to double your, the profit, so that way you can start affording these people, well, most people think, well, I just need to do 200 jobs. Well, when you start thinking like that, what ends up happening is you go from needing one crew, because you were the one crew, right? That did the 100 installs. So you're like, I just need 2 crews now. Well, the problem is that you were already installing, like you were doing all the installs, right? So it's not like you need 1 additional crew. You actually need 2 additional crews, because you need to replace yourself, because to be able to get to 200 jobs, now you need to increase your leads, which means increasing your phone calls. So you have to deal with that. Unless you want to hire someone right away to do that stuff for you, but then you're going to have to do even more jobs to be able to pay for that person, if that makes sense. And I hope it makes sense, right? So the first thing you need to do is price as if you are a contractor. And actually, I got to pause this because I lost. Hopefully, it was still recording. I don't know if it's recording. So, yeah, it must be recording. So, I hope it didn't cut off. But, actually, you know what? I'm going to have to stop this video because I don't know what it did. Actually, we're just going to let it record. So I don't know what you heard. But basically, what you end up having to do is, when people think about doubling their profit, they think they have to double their prices. But that's not the case. Because if you're already charging, just say, $10,000 and you're making $2,000 in gross profit, well, then you just need to charge $12,000 to make $4,000 in gross profit, right? And by doing that, you still stay at the 100 job number, which is important because, you don't have any crews. You have to hire 1, okay? So, but you're still generating that income that you need, so you're still making the same amount of money. Well, you should be making more, but at least now you have someone that's doing the installations for you, okay? And then from there, once you have that pricing situated, then you're able to get the more leads and generate more jobs, because then you can just hire more people. Because once you see how easy it is to hire the first person, then you just keep on doing that over and over again. Now, is it going to work out perfectly this time with the first person you hire? No. But you have to understand that, right? The other thing that came up is that, are you willing, when you scale your business, to not have the quality, like the end product, fence installation, not be the same as if you installed it? Because I had that conversation with the other guy, and it's like, what's stopping you from doing this stuff? And I'm like, are you concerned that the quality level is not going to be as high when someone else is doing the work? And he's like, yeah, I am concerned about that. Like, he's been doing this stuff for 18 years, and to give the reins to someone else, that's kind of scary if you think about it, right? It's undoing 18 years of the same thing. It's like 18 years of habit. It's like, you were smoking for 18 years and you want to quit. Like, if you were a smoker, how hard has it been to quit when you tried stopping after 18 years? And it's pretty damn difficult, right? I've never smoked cigarettes, but like, I don't know about that. So, but it is like any kind of addictive personality. Like, it's something I'm going through right now, where I realize in order to scale my business even more, like to go from $2 to $4 or $6 million, that my character traits have to change, right? I can't do the same things I've always been doing, because I've already been doing it and I'm not at $4 million. So what makes me think that if I keep on doing the same shit over and over, I'm going to get these different results? The definition of insanity. So that's something else to think about, right? So there's a lot when it comes down to, in my opinion, that when people say they want to scale their business, like, that's fine. But until you have the mindset, until you're willing to accept the changes that need to take place in order for you to scale, they're never going to scale. If you have this head trash that I can't possibly go from $10,000 to charging $12,000 because, I'm stealing from the customer, right? What I explained to the other guy is that it's not about stealing from the customer. It's about providing the value that they want, right? So for the value for some people, like, because he had two sides. He's in Montana. This is the second guy that's in Montana, right? And he's in a different, it's in a weird scenario because he does a lot of like ranch work and stuff like that for guys that own their own ranches, which by definition, they are going to be the DIYers, right? So for them, it's really not, if he charges too much, it's probably not worth it to them because they can do it themselves, right? You run a ranch, like you got hundreds of cows and shit, like you can't tell me you can't install a fence because I'm like, we only dig holes, set posts, and hang pickets. Like, how hard is that? It's not hard at all, right? So that's not your ideal customer. But then he has a lot of these people coming in from California, right? They're not getting their hands dirty like that. Some people are, but a lot aren't. And a lot of them have this busier lifestyle. Like, they may be working from home and stuff like that, and because, the laptop lifestyle has afforded them to be able to do that kind of stuff. But, like, they're going to be the ideal customers. And then it's shifting yourself away from like going after the ranch guys to now going after these little lots and shit, right? So like, is that in your wheelhouse, right? And if not, like, what's it going to take to get to that? And what I mean is, like, right now your equipment might be set up to do like these large agricultural jobs, like, and you're putting in 1,000 feet plus. Whereas now you got to shift your mindset. It's like, no, I'm only putting like, I don't know the size lots. They're probably putting in like 300-400 feet of fence, right? Because I explained to them what's going to end up happening more than likely. I would think, and this is what I would do if I was going into a new lifestyle. So I was going from California to New Jersey, and now I want that Montana lifestyle. I'm going from a quarter acre to now I have 5, 10, 20 acres, right? Which sounds ginormous. But for Montana people, that's like nothing, right? That's like the average. But for someone like me, that's a huge property. Well, I'm not going in there to, as soon as I move in, it's like, oh, I'm getting the livestock and I'm getting goats, the horses and all this shit, right? No, I'm not doing that at first. What I'm doing is I'm going to put in a fence to contain my dogs and my kids, right? So that's not fencing in 5 acres. That's not putting in livestock fences. That's probably putting in a nice aluminum fence or something. And for most guys that are out there, they're probably not installing aluminum fences. If that can work in that area, and I'm assuming it can, right? Obviously the wind's an issue, but it's aluminum, so it's going right through. And then it's, this shit's made for harsh conditions. Think of like the salt air and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's where my mind's at, because you might have to offer a brand new product for that area that no one else is doing. That's another mindset shift, right? There's so much that's going into this that I'm realizing more and more that people say, I want to scale my business. I can give you all the leads you want. I've done it for my business. I continue to do it for my business. Like, I get thousands of leads a year. Like, that's not a problem. The problem is that if I would have had thousands of leads back when, in 2017, before I really brought anyone else involved, I can't even imagine dealing with that, because I couldn't, because I was still answering the phone calls and the emails and everything else while going out to the quotes, right? It wasn't until I ended up bringing in my wife that I was able to hire, to be able to handle more phone calls, right? But then the next bottleneck was going out to all these freaking quotes, right? So then, or actually the next step was really the installation process. Like, I was slow as shit. So luckily for me, I hired that part out right away. But you guys don't do that, right? Because it's hard to let go of that control. And I understand it. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but it is what it is. It's just random shit that pops into my head. But like, it's a big mindset shift, and you have to be willing to accept it for a few different reasons. One, your quality is never, and going back to this, your quality is never, ever going to be as good as when you were doing it. No one's going to care about your business and care about your customers the way you will. But the number one thing to remember is you are not the final judge of that fence. Your customer is. And we get in, and I had this thought yesterday, because my wife constantly watches, through Facebook or whatever else, like the Kardashians, right? And what ends up happening this is another mindset shift, is that you, like, as for her, right, she's constantly seeing these people that when they go live on this shit, or it's not live, but they post this shit, right, they have a makeup team that does this shit for them. They don't really do anything else, so like they can work out, they have the nice house, they have all this shit, right? So then for her, like, she doesn't say it, but like she wishes she had that lifestyle, right? So when you guys are going on these Facebook groups and you see the new equipment and this and that and everything else, you're jealous of that and you think you have to be at that level, but it's not the case. It's just the fastest way to put yourself in debt. It's the fastest way just not to be happy about what you're doing, right? So anyway, this whole thing is a mindset shift. But the thing that starts with is it's your pricing. You got to get away, like you got to get your head trash out of this pricing. And then it's also being willing to accept that your quality is never going to be as good. And going back to the Facebook group, you know, roundabout number 6, is that, you know, people post these pictures and they completely tear them apart. Like, oh, you should have did this, you should have did that. Oh my God, that one picket's out. Oh my God, if I squint my eye and turn my head to the left, oh my God, like that gap is off by like a quarter inch. No one fucking cares. No one cares. The customer does not give a shit. They don't care. You know what they care about? They care about you answering your phone. They care about you showing up when you said you were going to show up. They care about the fence not falling down. They care about the fence being appealing, not that there's fucking like the correct number of braces and everything else. No, do I want you to go from, like, if it requires 5, you know, tension bands or whatever, I don't even know this shit because it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I just happen to be in a fence company. That's it. Like, I own a fence company. I'm not a fence guy. You don't have to be a fence guy to own a fence company. Like, I'm proving that. Because, right? They don't care. They don't care. It doesn't mean I'm giving them a shitty product, but I guarantee you my customer service is better than yours, and that's what they care about. It's important to them, and you got to find out what is important to your customers. You know, if you're dealing with the ranch DIY guys, maybe they give a shit about that stuff, and you have to be on point. Got it. So that's what you make important. But if you're going after these new people that are coming from California and probably have a certain expectation of what they want as far as like customer service and stuff like that, you got to give that to them instead, right? So I guess that's another point, is giving the customer what they want. You know, I made a comment that I have this program that will, he's like, I can't afford it if I hire more employees, right? Well, I'm like, I have this program that shows you that you can. Because like when you start putting this stuff on paper, it opens everything up, because like until you see it for black and white, you're looking at all the shades of gray of like, what if this, what if that? Well, it's not going to work because of this, it's not going to work because of that, or I don't think it's going to work because of this, this, and this, right? But when you see it right there, it's like, oh, so this program does that for you, right? I really do think this $27 a month program will fix most of the issues. I do. Because the problem is you don't know. And in my opinion, the fear of the unknown is worse than you constantly having to dig holes for another 18 years. That's my opinion, right? But I think it's true. Because what happens is when the pain, if your pain of, for this guy, right, 18 years, I said, well, what happens if you get injured? And he's just looking at me. He's like, you're right. Right? So what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to dig the holes. At that point, when you get injured, that's when the pain level is so high because you can't install and now you can't do what you want to do. Because he wants to grow the business, so he has a hobby. He has 100 cows. He wants to like do that. Like that's his passion right now. You know, it might change later down the line, but the goal is to have the freedom to be able to do whatever the hell you want. Like, that's why we own a business, right? Not to fucking dig holes all day, unless you want to do that. Like, the choice. You want the choice to do what the hell you want to do all day. For me, I don't want to do that shit. For me, I want to, like, build this business so I can go move down the shore to go surfing, right? I don't want to deal with the day-to-day bullshit. I don't want to go there and, interacting with the customers was great, but that's not what I want to do. Okay? Other people want to do that. You hire those people that want to do that stuff, that really enjoy that stuff. Anyway, I'm getting close to my destination, so I'm not going to be able to see where I'm at. Realize that you have to get your mindset right. And if you can't do that, and if you're not willing to do that to change the way you're thinking, then you can't scale your business. But number one is you got to look at your pricing. And if you can't hire someone else to do the job for you and still make a hefty profit, then it's not going to work. So that's number one. You have to get comfortable with charging more. And I do it all day. There's always, think about all the other companies in your area. If there's 5 people that are getting, 5 companies that offer pricing, and the customer calls those 5 customers, well, who did, if you're the lowest price and someone else is $2,000 more, you can start charging that much more. You can. It's possible. I've done it. The other way you can do it is start charging an extra $100. Every week, start whatever your price would have been, charge an extra 100. So if it's 10,000, charge 12.1. Okay? And then the next week, if it was 12.1, now it's 12.2. Or start looking at the gross profit. That's what I do. We don't go to a customer's house unless we're making at least $1,800. If it's two posts, well, we don't do that small, because we'll tell them, look, we're just not the option for you. But if it's the 2 fronts and the materials are only $500, well, and the labor is going to be $500, so that's $1,000. I'm still charging $1,800 extra to go out there. I don't give a shit, because it's not worth it. You have to realize that you're running a business. I see these posts with all these trucks. That scares the shit out of me, where you have all these crews. Anyway, I'm not going to go into anything else because I'll end up being super late to my quote. But anyway, I hope you have an awesome day, and I will talk to you soon.